خب سلام عرض میکنم به همه دوستانی که دارن ما رو میبینن از طریق لایو اینستاگرام انجمن صنفی انیمیشن در آخرین روز برنامه‌های مشترک انجمن صنفی انیمیشن و آسیفا ایران، برنامه‌های مرتبط با روز جهانی انیمیشن. یک گفتگوی آنلاین داریم با آقای مایکل دودوک، کارگردان شهیر انیمیشن های پدر و دختر، راهب و ماهی و لاک پشت قرمز، برنده اسکار. سوالات شما رو قبلا گرفتم و با یه سری سوالات دیگه وصل میشیم به ایشون. امیدوارم که گفتگوی خوبی باشه. من خیلی هیجان زدم، امیدوارم شما هم لذت ببرید از این گفتگو. خب دوستان بریم آقای Hi Michael.
Hey Amir.
Hi. How's everything?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good, thank you. But it's this country is not doing very well.
We have a tough situation over here too, so I can understand that what you're talking about. So how's everything? How are you? And what are you? How are you spending your days?
Yes,
days.
I've asked the same question to myself. Since the lockdown, I've not been very creative actually. Since March, since the very beginning. I've got a film. I've started a short film this time.
Great.
Yeah.
So I just have one of the questions answers right now. Okay. I'm sorry.
And to my surprise, because in a way I'm very comfortable. I'm one of the lucky people. I've got enough space to live comfortably, and my wife likes to be at home. I like to be at home. My studio is at home. It's in a garden. So I'm definitely one of the privileged people. But somehow it's I really feel for everybody, and I feel for the Americans who, oh my God, the Europeans are not doing well. And so part of me is happy, but part of me feels kind of sensitive to what's happening in the world. So I've decided not to worry about animation. I'm doing small projects, illustrations, or writing, and so on. And that's fine. That's fine. I've got some savings. I can live so far.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Actually, the thing I was going to ask first, that what do you think this coronavirus has been a threat or an opportunity for animation, actually? But I believe that in some sections that are producing animation, because they have done this before, working remotely on TV series mostly, not necessarily the short animations or even the feature films. They have always practiced working remotely. So I think at some sections this has not been a huge threat.
Yes, that's what I've heard too. If this had happened 25 years ago, it would have meant everything stops. But many animators are used to working on their Cintiq at home, and they communicate directly. They send stuff directly, and so on. I've heard that. I've heard whole studios like what's the name, Atomic in Vancouver. Just people all working from home, and they continue working. The same here. And also I've heard one producer said, commercials producers say, the live action industry is actually a bit jealous on the animation industry, because with live action, the actors can't come in the studio because it's too sensitive. Whereas with animation, people can just continue working. So in that sense, things are well, but I've heard of lots of students in Europe who are going through a stressful period, because this is time in your life when you want to meet people and learn just from being with people, and they have to work from their student accommodation, which is often very modest. And some students are in great stress, other students are very productive, or both. Maybe they were in stress in the beginning and then they learned to focus on their work.
No, yes. This is exactly the same thing that we are actually experiencing here in Iran too. In live action, actually there has been a lot of job losses, and people are struggling, but in animation, well, it was not a total disaster because people are still working. But well, in the education, like myself, I had a lot of online classes, but it was really hard for me. I don't know if it was the same to the students or not. So could you please tell us a little bit about the short film you're actually working on right now?
Oh, Amir, I've got bad news for you.
Okay,
it's still quite early. It's still quite early. I'm still writing and doing research. I've got lots of research material. The story is all complete in my head, but at this point, I tend never to share it with because it's too vulnerable, and I notice it's better to keep it for myself. Part of me, a big part of me, is a short filmmaker. I know my last film was long, but in short films, it's magical. And I've got stories for the moment. I've got stories for 3 short films, and and I like them all very much. One of them has a slight gap, which I have to figure out. So if I will make a long film in the future or not, I have no idea. I'm one of those desperate animators who will work until they're 100 years old, if I live that long. No, I use Paul Driessen as my role model. I don't know if you remember Paul Driessen, Dutch filmmaker, or Frederik Blatt.
Definitely. Yeah.
Hey, they continue working until they can't move anymore, and I think I'll be the same.
Oh no, you remember we were talking about Neustein, and that's actually that saying in Iran that I am the shadow of someone, or you remember that? We were talking about that?
Yes.
Well, actually in Iran, we have another saying that we hope that your shadow will always cover us. So translated to something like this. So this is what we all feel from the bottom of our hearts for you. Yeah, because we are always in the shadow, the shadow of your... So, well, you said it was actually one of the questions, and I really wanted to ask you right now because these situations might have made some changes to that too. You have done animations, shorts. You have animated yourself, and you're also an illustrator. Which one do you think you are? Which one do you like the most? Actually, I think this time would be a better time to have some silence in your head, and so you realize everyone that's what he likes best.
I think it changes. In the beginning, when I was a student, and afterwards I was an animator. I wanted to animate definitely, and very slowly I got into background, doing the backgrounds of my films. I noticed that I enjoyed those most. And now I'm a bit more of a storyteller. I like the fact that I'm telling a story. And so the priority for me now would be storyteller first, landscape artist or background artist second. I really like creating the atmosphere, the mood, the color balance, and so on. And animator, very close, just behind the background artists in me.
Great.
Yeah.
So storytelling comes first, like all the people who actually get into animation business somehow because they want to tell stories anyway.
Yes, but
they want to tell their own stories.
Yes, and there are lots of them. But Amir, I also have met many animators who are not storytellers at all, and they don't want to take the responsibility for the story. They just love to animate a character, for instance,
yes,
or they love to explore the elegance of the movements. So because in festivals of short films, we often see the animator storytellers, the directors, in other words. But I know, and it's not easy to write a good story. So I know lots of animators are just delighted. They say, "Give me some animation to do. That's all I want." I have something to tell still about stories. It's about death. It's about beauty. It's about timelessness. In other words, things that are bigger than us, definitely bigger than me. That I want to explore more. That I feel attracted to that, and also just the plain humor, the humor of the movement, the funny movements, the funny timing. I just want to play with that much more.
Yes, I can easily identify a lot of funny movements that you have done yourself, like the fish and the monk. All the movements are just movements, no dialogues, but it always makes you laugh, even if it's just moving around. So I really, it's always been an inspiration. So
thank you.
Let's get back to the storytelling. There have been a lot of questions, actually.
Yeah.
That, okay, I am writing a story for a short film. First of all, how do you get inspired? How do you get these stories? Some of these questions I can tell based on my opinion or based on other people's opinion. I was just watching an interview with you and Alex, and Alex said that.
Which one was that?
It was you were actually in a studio. I forgot the name of the studio. You were actually sitting on the couch discussing about one of the
yes.
There was a documentary about you longing of Michaël Dudok de Wit. Yeah, and Alex was asking.
Yes, you're watching. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I just want to shorten my question so that I can get back on you. Well, other people may have a different realization of what you have done. For example, those guys might think that all stories have the same theme of longing, which is not untrue. But I just want to know that, is it true for yourself? Did you have that inspiration, or where do you get your inspirations? A lot of these people ask that. I am trying to write a script, and when it's finished, I don't think it's not that good to be a short animation. I'm sorry, there are so many different questions, but I can somehow summarize it like this: the inspiration to
yes, no, I can say something about that. That's nice that you've seen the conversation between my son and me, because he is very, very knowledgeable. He's a journalist, of course, animation. And he works for Cartoon Brew, and his boss.
Yeah, we are friends.
Yes. Oh, I see. Do you speak Farsi with the guy from Cartoon Brew, the boss?
Yes, Amidi.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not with him, with Alex, actually.
Oh, I see. Yes. Anyway, when I say I'm a storyteller, it doesn't mean that stories just come all the time. On the contrary, there's just a few stories so far in my life, but they were the right stories. I really want to tell them. And there are times when I don't have stories also, or just parts of stories, but not incomplete. There was the motivation to make two of my short films, The Monk and the Fish and Father and Daughter, was definitely a very, very deep emotion, which I had all the time, which is longing, the deep desire. And it was so present and at the same time so subtle, so fine, if you want to, so quiet, that I didn't know what I was desiring, what the longing was for. And in a way, it didn't matter, because the longing itself was clear. And I looked at it, and it's painful, and it's beautiful, and it's very pure. And I thought, this is special. I really, really value that quality, let's say. And not everybody has it, but many people have it too, or they have it without realizing. So I wanted to play with that in my stories. And even then, I didn't use the word longing that much. It was only after the film was finished it became even clearer. With my long film, The Red Turtle, there was longing too, but it was more complex than that. There was a desire to express silence and the simplicity of nature. And I'm not idealizing nature. Nature is very violent, and nature is very tough. But it's still home. Nature is our home. We are always nature. We've always been. And to tell a film where you can somehow communicate that without preaching, without saying nature, but it's just there, and also just value the moments of silence and the moments of just being somewhere. I thought that is challenging, and that's the kind of challenge that I would really like to explore. Same time, keeping entertainment, keeping some suspense, keeping some drama, because they don't contradict each other, but a relatively quiet film. So what happened when the film was finished? I was pleased. I thought, yes, it's not exactly what I imagined. In some ways, it's even better than I imagined. But how will the audience react? And some people liked it a lot, but some people, especially in the United States, they told me, the story is not working. Because, the Americans really are very strong on this is how you tell a story, and it has to have a happy ending, and it has to have a peak at this moment, and then a quiet moment there, and so on. And they're good at it. I totally agree. They're very good at storytelling. But it's the American angle, the American perspective. And in Europe, we are not American. We also appreciate films that come from other cultures and that have very different energy, a very different dynamic. And I'm like that too. So some people didn't like the Red Turtle because they thought it was too quiet, and they wanted a dynamic, witty film. And other people liked the Red Turtle because it was quiet. I can say something about conceiving stories because it's not always that easy. But you start, first of all, obviously you start with the question, what do I really, really want to say? Well, that's not an easy question. I've had moments where I asked myself the question and there was no answer. And I have moments where I asked myself the question and things started moving. So I'm not saying it's just all you have to do is ask yourself that question, but sooner or later you have to say, what do I really want? Why am I animating? Why am I a filmmaker? What is my ambition? What is my passion? What's my love? All those questions all coming to one point, and that has been my motivation with every film. Not when I was, in my mid-20s, because at that age I thought everything was fascinating, but then slowly you start focusing and you start thinking, yeah, that's fun, but what I really want is that, those moments. So that's for me is when I teach and when I talk about creativity, it comes down to that. And that question, you have to, you have to be very quiet. You have to walk in nature. You have to walk in a market, wherever you want, but a place where you feel good, where you feel I am. This is good. Some buildings, in my case, definitely nature, and just walk by yourself. Don't talk too much. Think about your problems, but after a while they are boring. So you give yourself your time to get them out of your system, and then really say to yourself, "Yeah, okay. So seriously now, what do I really want to tell?" And I do something which is not very polite, but sometimes when I'm at a concert or a play or something like that. I'm really having a good time. I'm listening to the music. I think, oh, this is great. And I do something which is very impolite. I stop listening to the music and I start thinking about my project. I say, okay, because I feel good. I feel full of passion and I feel good. I say, all right, now my project, how's it going? And sometimes that's a really useful moment to start thinking about my work. Not long, just for a moment. Am I happy? Do I feel I'm on the right track? Actually, honestly, I'm not on the right track. Oh, okay. Okay, now let's go back to the music and I'll think about it later. It sounds simple, but I've done it a lot and somehow it seems to work.
Well, it's a great inspiration now for us, actually going to concerts. Unfortunately, concerts are just
okay.
right now not
it's not good
table. So
yeah,
but that was nice. When you were talking about the difference between the American culture and our producers and I don't know in Europe, I was just recalling there was a interview with Richard Curtis, and he was actually talking about his first experience when he had to work with with a production company in the United States. It was really fun. I will send you the link. It was
okay.
It was a podcast. It was nice. I know you like Richard Curtis too.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted before we start the talk, I'm sorry, I have to tell the guys that before we started talking, we had to talk a little bit about this. So I realized that you mentioned that festivals are just getting I don't know, somehow discontinued. So we might not see some of the festivals that we were used to know as major animation festivals. And a lot of people who are actually doing short animations are willing to send their movies to different festivals and be successful in that point, actually. So what do you think is going to happen? Is it really is it going to affect the short film production too? Because, well, actually in Iran, we do not have a very, I don't know, we do not have places to showcase the short animations. Actually, the festivals that this takes place. So is it going to be a threat to the short animation?
Gosh, I really don't know, Amir. I've got a few observations. As you know, some festivals have gone online, which is better than nothing. But it's the whole purpose of a festival is to meet people. I think to watch films and to meet people, and to go online is okay. It's still interesting because you can see lots of films, and some films win an award, and it's sometimes really important, that award, and so on. So I totally accept that. But let's hope it's temporarily. I'm not. People have asked me before the COVID pandemic. For instance, someone in India invited me. He said, "We're going to celebrate animation with a virtual festival. We want you to be part of it." And I said, "No, for me, festivals is about meeting people. I'm not interested in virtual." Okay, things have changed. Obviously, we are much more on Skype and Zoom and similar meeting softwares, social softwares. And I think if there's enough money for short films, because now all the countries are suddenly in a very difficult economical situation, but if there's enough money for short films, people are in pain, people are suffering, people are being challenged, and that's very good for art, and art is then very good for people. So in that sense, the pandemic is shaking things, is waking deep feelings in people, and deep fear and deep anger and so on. And that can only be good for creativity in general, in music, and when there's more freedom to see musicians. Because I noticed with students, many students don't have enough experience of life to tell a really strong story. Sometimes, there are lots of exceptions, but sometimes it's quite on one level, and fair enough, it's their first film, and the next film will maybe be more profound. But the whole pandemic now, I think, is the positive side to the pandemic. That's one of them. We ask deeper questions. We see how people really are. We see the other side of the coin, and in terms of if there will be enough money for short films, I really don't know. It depends on the country, it depends on the situation. For my present project, I've not even started looking for money. I still feel that I want to do it in my own time, and if it's strong enough, then I'll ask the producer to look for money. For feature films, I think it's tough because, as you know, now many feature films won't even be screened in a cinema. They go straight to Netflix or Amazon or Disney or Apple. And okay, some of them do really, really well. They have got nice contracts, but I think it's tough for feature films. There's a new market. People have to. I've been in a cinema with COVID, with space between people, but cinemas can't survive on just having 20 or 30 or less visitors. It's nice, and they do it temporarily until times are getting better, but for the moment it's not good for the cinema. So I don't know how that will work out for feature films. Or people will find cheaper ways to make feature films, because some budgets are ridiculous. Really ridiculous. My last film, The Red Turtle, was made for just over 10 million euros. that's comfortable. It's not much, but it's not cheap either. It's very comfortable for a film. Some films can be made for half that amount of money. The Americans would have spent much more on a feature if it was the case. But they do marketing research, so they know that the film will have commercial value. They check on their film on test audiences because they want to make sure that the film will make a lot of profit. But independent films like my films are not of that category. So maybe people will learn to make films for smaller budgets and still make very, very strong films.
Yeah, that's exactly the same in Iran, because in cinemas just being filled with, I don't know, half or even third of the capacity, but is not the answer to actually the hard times that they're going through. So actually experiencing the online cinemas is not that it was not that successful either. So I think there are some challenges in the feature production, whether it's live action or animation. So since you mentioned the feature animation, I just wanted to go back to the Red Turtle, that you had the you had the experience of a co-production with a totally different people from different cultures. How do you see this? First of all, are you ever going to do that again? Are you ever going to do a feature film? And if yes, do you think with this situation that we're experiencing right now, working with, I don't know, somehow outsourcing the production in different countries, which would definitely cost less, since you mentioned that the production budget must be, I don't know, somehow be lower. Is that the answer? Is it possible? How hard is that? And how hard it was for you doing the production?
Okay, with Red Turtle, two things. I had producers in France, but I was in France at that time, working on the film. So that was like, and we were not always in the same city, but we were in the same country. But my other producers were in Japan, Studio Ghibli in Tokyo, and that worked because it was never the intention for me to work there. I spent weeks there, but it was never the intention for me to have a team there in Japan, and it was never the intention to have Japanese people coming to Europe. They were the producers, and we had meetings, and we had letters, and that's all. So for me, in Japan was not a problem, and on the contrary, because I was delighted to work with them. But part of the Red Turtle was outsourced to Hungary, Kecskemét Film in the south of Hungary, a very established studio, very, very solid, very experienced. At that time, I think they already existed for 40 years. Now it's more than half a century. And I was very hesitant because I like to be in the same room or in the same building as my team, especially when it's a film where we don't have an exact example of where we are going. We were still exploring things. We were not following a formula. And so I was hesitant, but they did a few test scenes. Literally, they animated some scenes, and we looked at them and we thought, yeah, that's really, really quality work. Also, my French producers knew these people from Hungary. They worked with them before, and they had a lot of confidence in them. So at that point, we started working. They worked over there in Hungary. I worked with my team in France, and it worked very well. We had daily contact through internet, not me, but some members of my team in France. Had daily communication about details in the different scenes, about changes and so on. So it worked really well for them and for us. And then I thought, yes, outsourcing works, but on condition it's done intelligently and really tested well, and etc. We also considered China before we spoke with Hungarians, because China is much cheaper. And there we sent them tests, and they came back. They were awful. The tests they were. they just had a different feeling. The animation on the Red Turtle was very challenging, very realistic, very not cartoony, but very human. And that's not for everybody. And they handled it in a different way. And also the quality of the line was very different. And I felt very, very uncomfortable with that. But at that point, Hungary was an option, a bit more expensive than China, but Hungary was an option. So I was very relieved that we could forget about China and Hungary. Please, I don't want to say that China is not good at outsourcing. I know Studio.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, Studio Ghibli has outsourced. I think it was Princess Mononoke to China and maybe other films as well. And clearly they were happy. It's just that at that time for my project it didn't work. Yes, I would definitely, if I would make a feature, I would definitely consider outsourcing. But it has to be a very solid, of course, a solid basis. With people who are experienced to work, who have some experience working at a distance.
Yes, this is actually one of the challenges right now, even when we're working around different people with different lifestyles and different, when they're working together, you see everything, you can control everything, but when they're working from home, so there are new challenges from even the time of the day when they wake up and go to bed and other, somehow some kind of organizing the whole thing is a little bit of a challenge. Yeah. Right. But so hopefully you will do another feature film in the near future, hopefully when everything is back to normal. So I just want, since I do not want to make this too long, because I know you definitely have other better things to do. I just want to ask a few other questions, which all these audiences have sent us. One of them being, and I know that, but I'm going to ask it again because it was asked last. Can you name two favorite movies of you, which are always, and I don't know, somehow inspirational for you, whether it's live action or animation?
Yes. Oh my God, live action too. Oh. Yeah, so many.
I remember the live action stuff we were talking about.
So, yes, we did. My God, we did. Yeah,
it's top 10.
Lots and lots of films that you have and I have seen. I've noticed that when film directors, live action film directors ask that question, they often mention films that they saw in their late teens, early 20s. And I understand why, because at that age we are mature enough to watch a really adult movie. We are mature enough to understand the film totally. And we are still young enough to be completely amazed by everything and to be very influenced by what we see. At my age, I've seen 1 million films or something, and you see the patterns, you see the cliches and so on. I saw, when I was a student, I saw Seven Samurai by Kurosawa, Akira Kurosawa. That was my first Japanese film. It was my first experience of Japan in a way. I knew nothing about Japan. And I loved the main characters, the samurai and the villagers. I loved the characters. I totally felt identified with all the characters. I loved the quality of the wind and the weather and the rain, the battle in the rain and so on. And it opened my eyes totally. I thought suddenly I could go outside my own culture and identify with another culture. Animation-wise, you know how much I love Yuri Norstein.
Yes.
He is from Moscow. He is still alive. He must be in his late 70s, I'm not sure. And he made short animated films only. Cutout films, but you can't always see that it's cut out because he uses a technique which is highly sophisticated and very, very rich. And the first time I saw a film by him in 1975 in Annecy in France, when it was my first animation festival. And I saw his film called The Heron and the Crane, and I think it's my favorite animated film ever. It still is now, because it's just a beauty. It's so poetic, it's so pure, and it has brilliant, really snappy animation. And the story is very simple, and the romantic part of me wants to that story finished this way. but is it going to finish that way or this way? I don't know. And at the end, it's okay, I won't give it away. So that has been a huge inspiration for me. Yuri Norstein, The Heron and the Crane.
Yes, to everyone, just like yourself, of course. So, any plan to be back to Iran any time when all these things gone away, all the viruses?
It was as you know, it was an extremely happy experience. Both just a general experience of being surrounded by Iranian people in Tehran, and then you and I and two more friends, we visited other places in Iran which were stunning. And you told me I should visit Shiraz, which
so if you want to visit the real Iran,
yes,
with all due respect to all of the other cities, of course.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
I buy as a preparation. I buy Shiraz wine. It's probably not. It's not probably wine not probably made in Iran, but it's made from the Shiraz grape. That's the best I can do so far.
Okay, good. So just a couple of more questions, and I think then if you feel anything you have not said, then you can say it. We would be more than happy to listen. Okay, I asked about your favorite film, and do you think live action movies play a major role in the inspiration for animations, right?
Yeah. Is that your question?
Yes, and how that can affect the way we actually transform the media we have absorbed and do that use that to our benefit in the animation, whether it's the storytelling or the visual.
What I get from live action is the film language, the timing and the rhythm and the composition and so on. One. Secondly, no, I think that's all. That's the film language most. Other animated films inspire me deeply, especially at animation festivals. Less so feature films. I have huge respect for many feature films, and I watch them. And what did I see recently? Oh yes, it was a work in progress. I feel inspired, but many feature films follow the American model. And with all respect to the American models, I think there are other possibilities in feature films. We can go really, we can experiment much more. And I even saw a Chinese feature film, which was really an imitation of American animation. But things are moving. I saw a Chinese film called Have a Nice Day, which was made almost single-handedly by the animator director. It was experimental. It had a lot of character. It was not my favorite story, but it had so much character. I just sat there watching, thinking, oh my God, if China makes films like this, it's only the beginning. We will see. I forgot your question. Oh yeah, it's the inspiration. My inspiration, and I really hope other people agree with me, not everybody. My biggest inspiration is still just watching people and watching animals and watching, watching life around me. For instance, I've got a small garden here. I've got a small pond. And this morning, it was yesterday, I was watching a frog in a pond. It's a fat frog, probably fat because it has survived the winter. And it's sitting there totally motionlessly, without movement. But it's watching, but without movement. I think that's interesting. And there's no animation, there's no movement. It's still in a particular way. It's still while being very alert. And if you look properly, you see that his breathing is moving, the little movement under its mouth. And that I find interesting. So it's not always the movement of nature, but also every creature, including human beings, we have our unique way of not moving. In animation, we suddenly stop and stare at something. That's very, very expressive. Even if it's just for 6 frames, but even if it's for a whole second, that's very expressive.
Okay. So one last question, which I have the answer to. I have heard the answer during your interview with Alex, but since these guys have asked, I'm just going to say it again. I'm sorry. What happened after the Oscar? What happened after the Oscar? What happened?
Yeah. What happened?
What happened to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened after the Oscar? First of all, I have to mention that I'd never seen the Oscars on television. So when I first heard first I got an Oscar nomination for my short film, The Monk and the Fish. When I got a phone call from a colleague, he said, my film has been nominated and your film too. I thought, okay, it was great. Okay, wonderful. And he said, you have to go, And I said, really? Yes, you have to go. It's really important. So then I did some research and I thought, oh yes, actually it is important. I was really naive. And then I went there and I thought, this is not important. This is like religious for the Americans. The Americans have one religion, it's called success. And the opposite is being a loser. And success is a religion for them. And to be nominated for an Oscar is like you've got a halo around your head. You're oozing light. It was a very big hype, and I thought, okay, just enjoy it while it lasts, and I did. And my next film, the Father and Daughter, was also nominated. So there, I knew it's really important. You really have to go, not for the pleasure, but also it's very, very good publicity for the film. So I went there, I enjoyed it. It doesn't last, but in a moment you enjoy it. It's like a party. And then it won. I went on stage, I did a speech, a thank you speech, and I did a very short speech because there was not much to say. But because my speech was so short, they gave me a present.
I remember the Steve Martin mentioned that whoever gives the shortest speech is going home with a flat screen, huge giant
TV, yes, which was quite new in those days. And because they want people to keep their speech short, because it's always a problem. And well, I won the screen. I won the television, and
an Oscar and a television on the same night.
And when the journalists wants to interview me, because it's standard practice, they said, this is great. You film won an Oscar. Congratulations. And this is fantastic. You won the television. Tell me about the television. And I thought, okay, that's more interesting. The television we donated to orphanage. Immediately after the Oscars, I was tired. I went home. I was delighted. I felt very, very grateful. Very grateful. It's really special. But I knew it would, from colleagues, that it wouldn't suddenly bring me lots of money or lots of work. It doesn't work like that, or at least not in animation. But it did. 2 days later, I got a phone call from my agent. I had an agent in Los Angeles called Ron Diamond. I got a phone call from him saying, Michael, we've got a commercial for you. It's not one commercial, but it's 5 commercials for the same product, AT&T telephone brand. And I said, oh, Ron, I'm really too tired. I'm totally exhausted. The idea of making 5 commercials under pressure, I really can't, sorry. And he insisted, he said, these are really nice commercials. They were thinking of you. So it's in your style. They want you to design it and direct it and so on. I said, yeah, that sounds like a dream job, but I'm sorry, I can't do them. And he said, Michael, you really should consider that. You know how much you will be earning? And he told me the amount. And I thought, okay, can I see the storyboards again? So I accepted because it was really good money. I was not used to that money. It's not because I need a car or something, but if you do commercials and you earn good money, then you can take time off to work on your own project or to work on something else. It's very, 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 very. It's very helpful. And so I accepted. I did the 5 commercials. They were fine. The pressure was too big. I was barely surviving, but it was fine. I was grateful for the commercials. But after that, life was back to normal. I'm not suddenly I don't belong to a different group of people, or I'm not a different person. After that, if I want to have money for a short film, funding for a short film, no one will say, "Oh, since you've won an Oscar, we will give you money anytime you want." Obviously not. They look at the project, and they look at the other project, and select the best one. What it did do for me is that some people thought it was sweet that I was making short films, but they didn't take me seriously. They said, "So yeah, it's very nice you make short films. Okay, yeah, okay." They thought it was cute. And when they found out that not only did one of my films win an Oscar, but I was also making some very nice trips in different countries in the world, where I was welcomed in a festival or something, they suddenly woke up and they thought, "Actually, you know what? I really respect your profession of making short films. I didn't realize how important it is." So in that sense, it was very good publicity for my film, but also for the art of short animation in general, because many people, for us, it's so obvious, but many people simply don't realize that they exist.
Yes.
Very powerful, very poetic, very funny, short animated films.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. It was really nice talking to you. If you want to add anything to this, all these people watching and just dreaming that they can meet you again in person,
I would
love to hear that.
Yeah, I would love to come to Iran, to Tehran. Tehran is the part of Tehran I saw is not the most beautiful city on the planet, but it has a very distinct atmosphere, a distinct smell, a distinct people move in a particular way. I saw several museums which were stunning, and of course the other cities and the desert, and it was amazing. Yes, I would like to say something. What can I say? I would like to say something on a positive note, because these for some people this is very, very, very difficult times. If I look back on my career, now half a century of animation, if there's one thing I'm most grateful for, is something I've mentioned earlier, is that all the time I ask myself the big questions, like, what do I really want to say in my work? Or what is originality? Or what is it to have what is taste? What is good taste? What is bad taste? And why do I like bad taste as well? All the really big questions, often without knowing the answer. And not only my own art and my own creativity, but also other art that I see online or in galleries or anywhere else in music. I listen to music and say, why is it so beautiful, this music? Why is this so beautiful? This guy can't sing, and yet I love his song. Things like that. And those questions, even if I don't know the answer, but the questioning itself, the inquiry, the exploration of that, was my most important guide through my career. Not always. Sometimes you just have to earn some money and you accept any job. But as soon as I can, and I have my own creativity, all the time I say, what is really most important? And it may mean stopping what you're doing and doing something else instead. It may even being very honest with yourself and saying, actually, maybe I'm not an animator. Maybe I should focus more on and something else, whatever that is. At some point in my career, I was training to be something else, because I was really questioning my animation, and that was healthy. That was very helpful. So the questions have to be answered very honestly, or you have to admit honestly that you don't know the answer, but that you will keep looking at it. So if anyone, in creativity, but certainly now that our emotions are pushed very much, I would recommend that, to ask yourself regularly the big questions, and just to sit with the answers, or sit with the questions and respect them a lot.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Those were, I don't know, everything you say, everything you touch turns to gold, and everything you say is an inspiration to all of us. and it was really, really nice to see you again. I know we are actually experiencing some really weird situation everywhere around the world. I really wish you and Ariel are safe and healthy, and please stay safe and healthy.
You too.
And hopefully, thank you. And actually, I am enjoying the lockdown somehow too. Every day I went to work, but now I don't know, somehow I'm enjoying it. Yeah. Anyway, so I really wish that we can have opportunities to talk to you again in near future if you have the time, and if I'm not actually annoying with my emails or my neighbors with my banging head against the wall. So yeah, so thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again in person very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. خب دوستان، اینم آخرین برنامه بود از برنامه‌های گفتگوهای آنلاینمون با حالا گفتگوهای آنلاینی که در مورد روز جهانی انیمیشن داشتیم. امیدوارم که لذت برده باشید. خیلی ممنونم از شما و امیدوارم شما هم هر جا هستید سالم و سلامت باشید.